Hey there. I'm gonna wait for some people to log on. So, welcome to Stage 284. Welcome to Muppet Night with Stage 284. You can see Kermit. Oh, back this way. It's reversed. Kermit is behind me. All right, we have Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I'm gonna wait a bit for folks to log on. If you're just joining, feel free to ask questions at any point. I'll have the chat up so that I can see everybody. Feel free to comment as much as you can. I'll try and respond to as many people as possible. Um, Hi, Katie, Brian. Welcome, both of you. Hello, hello. Welcome to my living room. So excited to see you too, Kathleen. Wish I could actually see your face. Welcome, Craig. Hello, hello. And Katie. Katie with Craig. Love it. And Hillary. Hello, hello. Excellent. Welcome, friends. Welcome, friends, to Stage 284. Thank you all for doing one of these later at night. Since I work during the day, I couldn't do one of the daytime ones, so I'm glad that everybody's willing to take some time in an evening. This is great. Everybody here. All right. Give people a little more time to join. If you've just chimed in, if you at any point you have any questions or anything that you want to say, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll do my best to answer everybody's questions. We're just going to talk a little bit about what I've been doing in quarantine and how it kind of relates to theater and art and sort of what I would consider to be my mission. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Play with some puppets. Why not? Alrighty. Any more folks coming in? It is only 7:31. It's amazing how the first 2 minutes, when you're just waiting for people to join, can feel kind of slow. So, all right. A little more time. Okay. All right. Well, we'll start talking a little bit about what I've been doing in this quarantine time, and then we'll kind of get into the meat of it in a little bit. So, for those of you who aren't friends with me on Facebook, my sort of quarantine project has been to take pictures of me and my roommates every day. My roommates being my 3 Muppet photo replica puppets. So I have Kermit, as you can see here behind me. I also have a Gonzo and an animal. Uh, this is kind of just a silly thing. I did it just for fun, and it was meant to be just 1 or 2 posts, and then so many people commented on it, I thought it might need to be a daily thing. So it's become a daily thing. And every day I post what me and my roommates are doing in quarantine. Um, and I think what's been really neat about this is I know that everybody stuck at home right now is feeling a little disjointed. The idea of this being new normal is a little scary to some of us, and um, it's nice to know that everyone can relate, that we are all in the same boat. The idea that everybody feels a little off, and this isn't really normal, but all of a sudden we have uh, things like toilet paper being in the store is like the most exciting part of the week. So it's nice to be able to have a forum sort of for everybody to comment on that and laugh about it together, because I think it's important that we can all relate to one another and laugh about it, even though we can't be in the same room with each other right now. So that's why I've kind of continued to post these. And it did, like I said, it did start out as just like my mom had said, oh, you should take some pictures with your Muppets. And it had been a joke for years that I've had these, and now I really had time. Um, and so every day I try and base it on something that I'm actually doing during quarantine, or things that everybody's kind of struggling with. Like today's was a haircut. So trying to put those things out there again, just so everyone has a way to relate. And I do try and base it on things that are actually happening in my day to day, just because art imitates life, or life imitates art, or however that goes, right? Um, so it's going to be more real if it's things that are actually happening. So that's what I've been doing. To talk about the actual Muppets themselves, for people, lots of people have been asking about these. So these guys are photo replica Muppets. So they don't have an actual ability for a puppeteer to use them. Like I can't put my hands inside and make Kermit talk right now. Instead, they're posable. So I can move all of his fingers, every joint. I can adjust his mouth, right, a little wider. I can tilt his head in any direction. And for the most part, they will stay where I put them. But they aren't puppets like they would use in the Muppet movies or on the Muppet TV show, anything like that. These would have been used in marketing shots, still photos, things like that. And there's probably, I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different replicas of each Muppet that they can pose in different ways so that you don't see the supports. So yeah, these are the ones that I have. I'll put him back here for now. They are slightly limited. I can't adjust the eyelids on any of them. Though they move, they don't stay. I can move all of their other joints, but I do have to be pretty careful because inside is a wire armature, and sort of like a clothes hanger. If it got bent the wrong way, it's impossible to ever get it completely straight again. So I do have to be careful with how I pose them and how I support them and things like that. They don't stand up well on their own. So each of them comes with a support that looks a little bit like this, that kind of goes around their neck and then raises or lowers. So part of the challenge in these photos, which I'll talk about a little bit later, is hiding that so that it looks like they're standing on their own, or it looks like they're able to that they're actually moving around in my apartment without being able to see how they're being propped up. So that's a little bit about the Muppets themselves. A few people have asked me how I came to own them. They belonged to a friend of mine years ago. He collects movie props and was just looking to increase his collection. And so I bought them off of him because I hated the thought of them going to a home that wouldn't appreciate them. So I joke all the time, they're going to pay for my kids' college someday. But yeah, so that's where I got them. And yeah, so that's a little bit about that. For anybody that joined, I do see if you have questions, feel free to put them in my best comments or anything. Explained what anybody is on Facebook and would like to see the entire the gallery at this point of Muppet photos, feel free to friend me. It's just Crystal Van Artstalen on there, just like it was just like Stage 284 advertised. So and I will accept your friend request and you can take a look at all the photos. So now that you've heard what I've been doing, we're going to relate this a little bit to theater and things that we would do at Stage 284. So what I was thinking is that this really, really relates to, on the tech side of theater, because I've spent a fair amount of time in scenic design and props. This really relates to the idea of what your audience sees, because I think our biggest job as theater technicians is to create the magic of a show, where we create this world that we bring the audience into. And if we do our job well, the audience fully believes that that world exists, and that world, that they are a part of it, and they never think about like, oh, that was a lighting cue, or oh, that was a sound cue. They don't notice any of those things because they are just immersed in the magic in the world of the show. So what I've been trying to do with the Muppets is really make it look like they're existing in my house, that these are my roommates and we are getting into shenanigans during quarantine. So there's a couple different things that play into that, and the first is what the audience really sees and believes to be true, and a lot of that depends on angles of shots. So I'm going to try right now to bring up one of these photos. We'll see if this actually works. Ooh, maybe not. I'm very sorry for the tech snafu. There was a share screen option, but it has gone away. So we're going to try a plan B. So the first photo that I'm going to show you is of me and all of the Muppets in the bathroom. The idea that we were sharing the bathroom space, probably something everybody is dealing with here in quarantine, right? So I'm going to just try and do it this way. If everyone can kind of see that, that's really not working either, is it? But there we are, all in the bathroom mirror. And the key to this shot, I believe this was also posted on Stage 284's flyer that they sent out earlier today. The key to that shot was hiding the camera, because all of these photos have been taken. It's just me here in my apartment, so it's been a lot of, tape the iPhone to the refrigerator across the room and hit the timer and then run and dive into the shot. And a lot of them, you get like half my face, and, like the Muppets have fallen over and there's, mess on the floor and things like that. So that particular bathroom shot, I had to find a way to hide the camera so that it couldn't be seen. So it's actually in shelves up above me in a basket with just the tiny camera hole poking through the basket. And again, set the timer. And I really wish I could share the screen. I'm really sorry that that's not working. So if you were to look at that photo, again, one of the issues with the actual puppets themselves is that they can't really hold anything of weight. Though they can stay posed where I have them, if I were to, let's say this is left from today's shot, try and put scissors in Kermit's hands, the weight of them pulls his whole arm down. So I have to find things that are very light, or remake props to make them look like something else, but have them be light or supported in other ways. So in the case of the bathroom shot, Animal was holding a hairdryer. And a hairdryer probably weighs twice as much as he does. So I wasn't able to have him hold it to do the shot. So I had to arrange myself in a way that the camera was seeing me and seeing him and seeing his arm and thinking that he was holding it, but really I had it supported with my other hand from underneath. Similar to Gonzo in that shot is standing, and it looks like he's standing on his own. It looks like he's just standing up to the counter, but none of them can really stand on their own without some kind of support. So what you can't see is that underneath that bathrobe, there is his stand that he's actually on with all of the wires and things like that. But we were able to hide it underneath the bathrobe. And in the shot, all you see is the front reflected in the mirror, so you can't see that part. So it's very similar to theater in the idea of, what is the audience going to see on our set? Which side is your audience seeing? The idea of, you only have to make half, like paint the first half, the front half, if you have a proscenium set, that kind of idea. So that is a big part of all of these shots, is the idea that we have to kind of angle them, and some of it's very unnatural in the actual space of my apartment and wouldn't be how people are sitting, but you have to angle so that everybody can be seen in the shot and you get the idea of what they're doing, and people really buy it, even though it's all smoke and mirrors a little bit. Yeah, so angles are a really big part of it. Also body placement, where we put just one up, like one of their arms, it might make it look like they're raising their arm on their own when really it's supported from underneath by one of the other props. But if it's done well, where the camera doesn't show those supports, then yeah, then it makes it look real. The other thing that I always have to kind of keep in mind is the camera angle itself. So sometimes it's as simple as, well, you can see the support, so we're just going to crop the photo in just a little bit, and now you only see the side of their face and you don't see the support, and it looks like they're standing there. Another example of some of the faking of the props is in the birthday shot, which I'm going to just say reference what Stage 284 sent out earlier today, since the screen share is not working. I know the birthday shot was in there. A couple people have asked me about the cupcake in that shot. They're like, oh, you made cupcakes. I actually didn't. Again, the idea of, as long as it looks that way, what really that was cotton shoved into a cupcake liner, because I did have cupcake liners. And I just filled it with cotton and some shaving cream. So the icing is really shaving cream. They're real sprinkles though, because you can't fake sprinkles. Well, actually you can, but I didn't want to fake sprinkles. So that's what's on top of those. And a lot of times we have to do that kind of thing in theater too. I would have made something a little more solid if it had to last a long time. But this was just for one shot. So the filling the cupcake liner with some cotton balls and shaving cream totally worked. And everybody that looked at it believed that it was a cupcake. So that's another example of those things. And I chose props for that scene based on what they could hold. The idea, again, that these guys can't really hold anything heavy, but those noisemakers are just kind of paper. So a lot of times I'm thinking through, okay, what do I really want this shot to look like? And then it's like, well, that's what I really want this shot to look like. What can I do that they can do? So it's kind of always adapting. Another example of ways to sort of give the illusion was in the spider shot. I think that one got posted today too, where we're all hiding from the spider. The broom probably is twice as tall as Gonzo, and definitely weighs more than Gonzo weighs. So really the broom was taped to a chair, actually duct taped to a chair, and it was in position, and then I just pulled Gonzo up behind it and made it look like he was holding it. And because I cropped the photo, you can't see the chair and you can't see Gonzo's feet or any of those things. So it looks like Gonzo is swinging that broom after the spider, but really it's all propped up. If anybody have any questions, again, if you just joined, I see we've had a couple people come in and out. Feel free to pop your questions in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So the other thing that, well, just to kind of wrap that section up, the main part of this as it relates to tech theater and props and things like that is, what do you want your audience to see? What do you want your audience to believe? And if you know what your goal is as that goes, if you know, like, well, I want my audience to have this vibe, or what do you want them to focus on? In the case of the spider shot that we were just talking about, we want them all looking for the spider, right? To see that moment of action. So if they're focused on that big broom going after it, they're probably not noticing that all of a sudden, oh, Gonzo's shorter than Kermit in this shot. That doesn't make any sense. Like, everybody's heights are a little off, but you wouldn't notice that because the idea is that we've drawn their focus to a different place. And we have to do that a lot in theater. It is that whole idea of smoke and mirrors. What do you want them to see? What do you want them to believe? And how have you brought them into your world? So the other thing that I've really been enjoying about doing these that also relates to theater is how little changes in body language can really affect the emotion that comes across. And it's been so fun to play with the Muppets and their expressions, because I am limited in what they can do in terms of how much they can move their faces or move their bodies. But I'm definitely learning that the tiniest tilt of a head or the tiniest, the difference between Kermit's mouth being open this wide versus maybe if I were to just make him a little less and tilt it, it's a totally different emotion that he's having there, right? Um, and it's, now he looks a little weird sitting back there, sorry. All right. So it really has made me think about what body language does, even the most subtle changes. I Again, I was really hoping that we could do some screen sharing, but if you got the post today, I recommend looking at the image of the horror movie night. And you can see that I can't close Kermit's eyes. He doesn't have eyelids for me to close. So I had to kind of play a little bit, like how can I make him look like he's afraid? So for those of you who haven't seen it, I'm going to try and again do the just phone share, which I realized didn't work super well last time. I apologize. If I do another one of these, we will totally figure out the we'll figure out the best way to do the screen share. So here is movie night. Trying to get it out of the reflection of my screen. So you can see that Kermit, what I tried to do was pull him backwards, try and make all of his body language go away from what he was looking at, but just leave that little crack that he was still watching. Those kind of subtle tilts, subtle movements really help create an expression. If you saw the one of them all in the car, I had, at first I had Animal's mouth the whole way open and it just looked like he was yelling and not looking. It didn't look like he was actually even trying to drive. So finding ways to just adjust here and there, and it is a lot of adjust and go back and look at it and adjust and go back and look at it, which in theater, if we're thinking about how we're changing our body language as actors, and trying to take on a character, it is so important for us to listen to our directors and the folks who are seeing us in those moments, because they may have a completely different view, and they will have a completely different view of how it's reading and what's being seen. So it's really important to take those notes and learn from what they're seeing. Yeah, so those are just a couple of things that I've been doing and how it kind of relates back to theater. And I hope that this has been fun for folks, that I hope that everybody's enjoying the images. And I was going to leave some time for questions if anybody has questions. I don't see many people posting anything, but I would answer questions anytime, so feel free to message me on my Facebook or here at Stage 284. Everybody at Stage 284 can always get a hold of me. And I hope you all are staying safe and happy in quarantine, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye, friends.